Yeah, so uh, uh, does this message have to be understandable to by kids or?
No, it's just basically for part of this whole documentary thing. So,
Okay,
so adults
okay,
primarily, and if something is applicable, I'll pull it out.
okay,
You
sounds
know,
good.
yeah.
Okay, so if you look at the Western paradigm of decision making, there's a strong notion of our decisions have a strong influence on the outcomes, and so we're all striving to get the outcomes we want. And the the Eastern philosophers were also faced with a similar question, and their conclusion was, you really don't control your outcomes as much as you think. At the same time, you can conclude that, well, life is hopeless, stop acting. That's a terrible conclusion. So their message was act, but do not get stuck with the attachment to the outcome, because the outcome will come. It will be what it will be. So this idea of making good decisions is a fundamental principle of Eastern philosophy. But where Eastern philosophy didn't make the connection, I think, before our field came, was there's this huge amount of external action around sustaining our lives, where we are engaging with money, we are offering services for a price. We're not, at least in our minds, we're not serving each other selflessly. And so that is in one bucket, and the other bucket, we start doing all these other things that make us feel so good. So it's almost like this whole, 70% of our day goes in a direction which doesn't enrich us personally, it doesn't fulfill us. So there's this big disconnect. And this is also there in the West. Like if you see the Puritan philosophy of the beginnings of this country, work was where you did the sin, and then you paid to charity, supported the church, and then you absolved yourself. So these ideas have been there across different cultures. And what I think is a remarkable achievement of decision analysis is you kind of bridge this gap, and you said, well, wait a second. If you can make your decisions, even the most material of decisions, but not get attached to the outcome, you will find freedom. You will find freedom because the practice of freedom is the practice of equanimity. And built into the math of decision analysis is this idea of, literally when you start getting into the field, you calculate the equivalent value of any deal that is in front of us, and that amount should make you just indifferent to the deal or having this amount of money. Now, remember, this amount of money is fictional. You don't have it. But we are rewiring our minds to say that I already came ahead. I received this in my account in here. And because of that math, I now have a very concrete tool to say, okay, I'm ahead. I'm going to move forward. And so it's not an abstract philosophy anymore. This is like, if you don't get this idea, you will flunk in the DA exam, right? And so we have people who would never go to a church, would never study Eastern philosophy, but they're calculating the certain equivalent. And that is, I think, a stupendous achievement. Just to put it in contrast, Ron Howard talks about, expectations are a stick with which you beat yourself for the rest of your life. So don't have expectations. That's why he invents these new terms, which are very precise to the meaning you want to convey. It's certain equivalent. And then you look around and you see statistics and economics, and they spend the whole semester talking about expectation and making you calculate it. And you're like, okay, these professions actually missed the boat. They completely missed. They're using very similar tools, but if you strip this deep philosophy out, the same tools will lead you to, all the things that create stress, don't bring fulfillment. It's just fascinating. It's like a Buddhist philosopher said that here is a key. This key will open the doorway to heaven. It'll also open the doorway to hell. So it is sort of like that. The tools we use, they can take you in different directions, but it's the philosophy that keeps us straight. And that, I think, is the essence of DA. If we strip the philosophy out, this is actually a very dangerous, teaching. But with that philosophy, it becomes, a very powerful, a force for good. That is my take. I mean, this is the biggest intellectual achievement, I think, since the last 1,000 years, I would say. This bridging has never happened before. So I think we should all feel proud of it.